Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Mithras Caves of the Circind and what it's about. I'm going to get into this a little bit. It says Merlin, the High Druid of Britain, sends the characters to retrieve the fabled coat of Baesrid, one of the 13 treasures of Britain. To succeed, they must find the help of the hero, Gawain, uncover the mysteries of Lidis Farena, and defy the wrath of Magus, Druid king of the fierce Kirikind Botadini, a powerful animist known to eat the brains of his enemies. Well, this scenario is taken from the Mythic Britain campaign setting, and it acts as a sampler for the book, but is also complete and playable in its own right. Um, I could argue that a little bit. With maps, non player characters, statistics provided, do note that it is intended for a party of about six. I don't know where you're going to find six people and a game master, but six reasonably competent characters with combat related skills in the 80% or higher area. If used with beginning, lesser skilled, or fewer characters, then the skills and numbers of the foes should be adjusted accordingly. And with that disclaimer, that is what I'm talking about as far as being complete and playable in its own right. Yes, it is a complete and playable adventure, but it also requires a lot more work in terms of character building. Your characters are going to have to be a little bit more advanced, or you're going to have to bring some of the stats down. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's go ahead and get into the rest of this, right? Caves of the Kirkind. Um, yeah, that's kind of how you say that. I was saying Circind for a long time, and somebody said it's Kirkind, right? Um, I don't know how accurate that is, Kirkind or something like that. But be that as it may, I'm going to say that as best I can, and I apologize to anybody who knows how to say this better. So, uh, in search for the treasures of Britain, right? You meet Merlin, and he sends you on a mission or a quest into Pictish lands in a bid to retrieve the coat of Baesrid. Here you will encounter the druid king Magus and his brutal Pictic tribe, the Kidukind. They also gain an ally in the form of Gawain, son of King Lot, the Votadini ruler of the Gadadin kingdom. Gawain knows where Magus has hidden the coat of Baesrid, and being a northerner himself, knows the wild country of Kidukind. All right. So then they go on to talk to you a little bit about the importance of the code of Baesrid, and then move on to Merlin's quest for you and how he wants you to approach this, right? And you start off in Caer Isaac, I believe is how it's called, the capital of Brigantia, right? And so you got to travel there, and um, you find Gawain at the hill fort of Queen Elwa or Elev of the Brigants, right? And she is the ruler that Gawain has decided to serve. And now he is a Christian; he's no longer a pagan. And this kind of uh, prelude into this dichotomy of pagan and Christian culture plays a big part in the uh, mythic Britain background setting. And I think that if you don't have the book, you kind of miss out on actually getting some of the details and some of the texture of the game world. Uh, Without that book, you kind of don't really get to feel the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So I would say you can play this, but I would recommend you just to get the book. I mean, I would get this to read through this to see if this is something I want to do because, excuse me, once you start with this game, Pardon me, let me clear my throat there. Okay, so once you start with this game, you're gonna make characters, and they have five passions instead of three. They also have an additional skill called superstitious. Uh, there's languages that play a part, and you also have a passion that relates to your religion, which is either pagan or Christian. And once you get going, then it kind of makes a difference in the way that you play this game. And so I think that even with this spoiler out, I think it's better if you just read it myself. Now you could play it, all right, and we'll get into how to doing that. Okay, so moving on. Once you meet Gawain, you find out that he's with this queen, and his queen doesn't really like Merlin, so he's gonna help you, and he's gonna go on a quest for Arthur, since she's okay with Arthur. Yeah, King Arthur. Camelot, that guy, Excalibur, and all that. And so what she says is okay. You can go ahead and go on this trip, and we'll see you when you get back, basically. And so the thing about Gawain is that his dad was a king, and his dad tried to kill his sister and kill him, and basically for shaming him, right? And they're going to go into that land where they're from, and so for trying to take his life and his sister's life, Gawain doesn't mind taking something from them, so he's okay with taking this or stealing this thing, this magic item from the Kyrkind uh, uh, of, in the north, right? These Pictish people. So then you're going to journey from Cair Isaac to Red Marsh, where you travel across land, supposed to be uneventful, supposed to be bright sunny skies and everything in the English country land, British country, land, and it's supposed to be all happy and cheerful, whatever. You get to Red Marsh, the place is supposed to be basically, to be honest, you know, poor as hell and a crap hole, basically. And so the people that live there are very poor. Anyway, so they go to the fishing village of Red Marsh, which is about a day's ride from Cair Isaac, and from there you have another 160-mile sea journey to the western coast because he's not going to travel across land. All right, so there's kind of a railroad there. You don't have any choice. If he's going to help you, which you need him to, um, you're just not going to find what you're looking for if you don't bring him along. So you got to go on this boat ride, okay? And the boats in these parts are simple fishing vessels, not capable of traveling too far from the shore. Okay. And so you're just going to basically travel along the coast, uh, and it should take you about 2 days to get there. All right. And you'll head to this place called Lindisfarne first, where you're going to meet this druid, and then from there, something important happens there. Actually, really, you should read that part thoroughly once you get to Lindisfarne before you get into the scene, and go ahead and do that. And once you do that, then you head on up to the caves of the Kid and everything happens there. So it's usually, I'm going to be honest, there's really no combat till you get there, and you're going to try to avoid combat to begin with. All right, and on your way, you know, riding along your way to Redfern or Red Marsh, you can gather some information about Gawain, and you learn more stuff about him. Even though he's kind of tight-lipped and he doesn't really share his life with people. Okay. Once you get to Lindisfarne, you meet a guy named Ophid there. Okay. Ophid is a druid. He's a pagan, and you find out that he uh, he has a magic item that is part of the treasures of Great Britain, right? And so they're trying to uh, collect, and you'll be able to collect that one. Um, he also goes into a spirit combat, which now if you have a shaman or a priest of some sort, I would not recommend. A priest is only going to be Christian. So if you're a shaman, you're pagan, right? If you're going to go and you're going to have an animist of any sort go into spirit combat, I would not recommend it because the spirit combat is against ancestors of a higher power, and they're just going to beat you up and or kill you. Which you know, which is what happens here. And like I said, I would go ahead and read this section on Lindis Farina before I get into it, just to make sure you run it right, because there's a lot that goes on there, even though it doesn't seem like much. Um, there's a lot of background material there to be had, a lot of things to talk about. And so once you get through that, you continue onwards, and you go to what they call the firth, or a bay, or an inlet, where the actual caves, the Brock, I believe that's what I'm supposed to say. It's a Broch. I speak Spanish. I don't speak this. I don't even know if it's Celtic, or I have no idea what it is. But it's called the Brock, right? And the Coat. The caves, the Brock, and the Coat. The Brock is supposed to be like a fortress or a tower, and in these caves, there's three different caves, and there's a tower with a wall around it, and that sits atop the cliffs. So it's like a giant, like the White Cliffs of Dover kind of deal. And you got the Sprock up the top with some sparse forests, and then the cliffs at the very bottom have these caves, and there's three of them. All right, the first one is the Cave of Serpents, and if you go in there, you'll actually walk into a spirit world. Like there's a tunnel that actually, if you keep walking, you walk into the spirit world. You get attacked by spirits, and not good. So that's the Cave of Serpents. Then there's Manawydon's Cave. I don't know how to say her name. Manawydon's. An important um, goddess, and she's a goddess of, let's see, fertility, right? And so nobody goes into that cave really, and so it's nothing in there. And then the third one is the Spring Cave, where you meet a local water spirit, right, who manifests as a little girl, and she likes to play games. And if you play a game with her, she will answer three questions. Of course, this is a cave you're going to go into, and there's like a rock or a slab. You lift it, you go down the sacred tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, you find the uh, the the coat of Bazerid, right? And there's a shaft that goes up to the Brock. There's also a spring for spring water. You can get spring water, refill everything. And the thing about the Brock, okay, you got six warriors that can come down from the Brock to the mouth of the spring, to the spring cave, and they form a small shield wall. You got four warriors in the chamber to directly protect the armor. You got six more warriors to watch the coast and the cliffs above, and you got four more warriors hidden inside the Brock to attack anyone who overcomes the guards in the armor chamber and tries to escape through the Brock itself. So, if stealth is not involved, you will get captured. And if you get captured, which you probably will, Gawain can volunteer himself, let the character survive and take him as a sacrifice. Uh, he can be a rescuer, right? You can have a priest work a miracle. You can have help from the spirit of the spring. Um, there's another magic item that you find that you can use. Um, and you can extend this out where the character is actually tied up and getting ready to be sacrificed, and this guy's gonna, drink their blood out of their skull or their brains or whatever. Anyways, so the ideal scenario is that the characters retrieve the code of Bezra, evade capture, and hightail to their hidden ship, right? And Magus and his warriors will give chase, right? Hurling spears and insults and all this. Basically, Magus curses the characters as they leave, right? Once that's done, whether the characters live or they die, you conclude the scenario, right? If they die, that's pretty much it. If they live, though, they get to meet Merlin back at the place where, uh, what is it? Is it Kier Isaac? Yeah, Isaac, and they meet Merlin. They bring him the two magic items they found, right? And he's happy. Gawain's not real happy. But Merlin offers you another opportunity to continue the campaign. And if you want to, you can read more about Gawain to the characters, let them know more about him. But then you're done, right? And at the end, they got stats for Gawain. They got stats for the typical Vodadini warrior. Um, and Gawain has a combat style of 81%. The the Kirikin Votadini warriors have a combat style of 75%. And that's kind of high. I mean, they're going to be using short spears and short swords, and they got shields and they got an armor of two. I mean, it's not going to be that easy to take them down, especially that they got 8 hit points in the chest. Okay, and then you got Magus, who may show up, who also has um, his combat style at 81, but he also has Binding and Trance at 90 and 95. All right, and he has two spirits that he uses. One is High Wing, uh, that has Spectral Claws and a Beak at 98%, Stealth at 98%, and Willpower at 88%. And then Loethna, who has uh, Spectral Circind Warrior at 96% and Willpower at 70%. So you see, if you put those warriors along with Magus, his two favorite spirits, and you got 3 or 4 characters whose combat style is only between 40 and 50 something, they're gonna die, right? So you kind of have to use experienced characters. And one way to do that is to pretty much just average out these guys' skills and their combat style, and that's where you should be. You should have your characters with their skills and combat styles to their average. So are you going to take all your skills, going to average them together? That's where theirs should be. Okay. If they're lacking, right, you're going to bump it up that much, right? So you're starting out with however many points you got. So if you're lacking at about 100 points altogether, um, or an average of, let's say, 10 or 20 points, right, among one, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 skills, you kind of want to give them 50 points for every level that they need to go up, right? So you're going to be like 50 points will give them 5 points on those 10 skills, basically. You see what I'm saying? So if you keep going up and you need to go from, let's say, 40 to 60 or 65, then you need to give them, let's see, 50, 60. So that's one, two, three, four, five. You need to give them another 500 points, and then you probably need to give them another 25 points added to their combat style, and then they should be good to go. Or you can give them 550 points and another 30 points to their combat style, and they should be good to go. Right. That should bring them up to par. And you're gonna have to give them a couple of things like some favorite spirits and fetishes and things like that. If you're gonna have an animist or whatever. Again, like I was saying, the ancestors that are guarding. the Circind, the Kitakins, and the Coat are intensity 5 ancestor spirits, and they're pretty powerful. So you kind of don't want to mess with them. And so if you're the game master, you're gonna want to create characters that are not going to be able to take those guys on, but at least be a challenge of equal value with Magus and his minions, right? And as you see, they had this is intended for 6 characters, and so they had um 10. They had 20. He has 20 warriors um for your 6, right? And so that's a 3 to what? One, two, 1, 2, 3, 2 into 20 is 10. So 3 to 10. So they're outnumbered 10 to 3. Um, that's that's a lot. So if you keep that ratio, you'll be doing exactly what the scenario wants. In the 3 to 10 ratio, or for every. But I basically broke it down into two. Right, 2 into 6 is 3. 2 into 20 is 10. So that's where I got the 3 to 10. Keep that ratio. You'll probably be doing pretty good. If you go with 4 characters, you'll probably have like 11 or 12 warriors, right? With 4 to 5 characters, you'll have 11 or 12 characters, NPCs, warriors, plus Magus, or whatever his name is. And that's about it. I recommend you get the Mythic Britain book and just go ahead and play through it. But I would get this and read through it to see if it's something that you want to do. Let's see. I think there's a copyright in the front. We'll take a look. Yeah, it's been around for a while, and it's still got like all the old stuff written on it that it's not supposed to have, but still has for copyright uh, uh, things that are not supposed to be on there, right? So let's see. Okay, so it's been around since 2014. Okay, so that's not too long ago, but it is pretty fun if you like King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table. I think this is a pretty good setting, and I highly recommend it. Hopefully, you guys will get into it. You can run it, or you can make some changes. Or you can even go ahead and just get the Mythic Britain campaign book once you've read it and you decide that, hey, we want to go ahead and try to play the whole thing. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be great. I've only played like 2 adventures, I'll be honest, in Mythic Britain. They were all great, and I had a lot of fun. But again, it does take some time to read and get the background material for texture and for some of the more subtle game elements that come into play in playing this setting, which I think is very, very much worth it. So if you want to, and you can afford it, get get the companion, right, the printed one, because it comes with a big map, really beautiful maps that you can use for your gaming and even just hanging on your wall. I mean, if you really like maps, some people really do. These are got a bright blue sea, and sort of baby blue color. So they're done kind of in the old style, and they're really nice. I like them. And I hope you guys have a great time gaming. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Enjoy yourselves.